From ABC News, the Weekend Report. Here's Tom Gerald.
Good evening. In the big power gamesmanship over deploying nuclear weapons, today the new leader in the Kremlin made his debut. Mikhail Gorbachev announced that as a goodwill gesture, the Soviet Union has halted deployment of its middle-range nuclear missiles targeted at Europe. Gorbachev also confirmed that he would like to have a summit meeting with President Reagan. The White House reacted politely but cautiously, saying the Soviet move would not alter NATO plans for additional missile deployment. We have two reports, first from Moscow, ABC's Walter Rogers.
Gorbachev's decision to meet with President Reagan was announced on Soviet television this evening. A commentator disclosing the new Kremlin leader feels an improvement in relations with the United States is extremely necessary. The Soviet people were never told that President Reagan first initiated the summit, although Gorbachev disclosed he has been corresponding with the American president. There was no indication, however, of where or when the Gorbachev-Reagan talks will be held. In that same Pravda interview, the new Soviet leader also announced a new disarmament initiative, saying he's ordered a unilateral halt to deployment of Soviet SS-20 missiles in Europe until November. Not coincidentally, that's the same date the Dutch have set for their decision on whether to deploy NATO's new cruise missiles. Today in Europe, anti-nuclear demonstrators were again on the march, and that appears to be the audience to which Gorbachev is playing. If these demonstrators can pressure NATO into matching the Soviet missile freeze, Moscow will be left with a substantial advantage, having already deployed over 400 SS-20s, each with 3 warheads, and 2/3 of that rocket force is already targeted on Western Europe. In that same Pravda interview, Gorbachev again tried to warn the Europeans away from any participation in President Reagan's Star Wars program, telling them not to become accomplices in this dangerous project. The new Soviet leader has now been in office less than a month, but his quick acceptance of a summit with President Reagan, coupled with this disarmament initiative, appears to confirm earlier suspicions that Gorbachev is not only firmly in control, but he's also very comfortable with his new authority. Walter Rogers, ABC News, Moscow.
This is Sheila Cash with the president in California. White House reaction to Soviet leader Gorbachev's interview was cool. A Soviet pause in deploying intermediate-range nuclear missiles will not interrupt U.S. deployment of its cruise and Pershing II missiles in Europe. Deputy Press Secretary Larry Speakes told reporters it's fine if the Soviets want to freeze. But as far as that being any exchange for ceasing U.S. deployment, which is substantially smaller than the Soviet deployment, no. Speakes said the Soviets have deployed 10 times as many warheads as the U.S. has in Europe. Administration officials here, including National Security Advisor Robert McFarlane, had been expecting some public Soviet pledge to halt deployment because Soviet negotiators at the arms control talks in Geneva made similar promises several weeks ago. Speakes said the administration believes that instead of a freeze, the most pressing need is to achieve significant reductions in U.S. and Soviet offensive missiles, and this can be done in the talks at Geneva. Speakes also said that Gorbachev's public statement he supports the idea of a summit meeting with President Reagan matches the private letter Gorbachev sent the president, but does not advance the summit. Speakes said there have been no discussions about a time or place for a meeting. U.S. officials see the Soviets as genuinely interested in a summit, but the U.S. sees the Soviet pause in deployment as less genuine, aimed at protecting a Soviet nuclear advantage rather than reducing nuclear weapons. Sheila Cast, ABC News, Santa Barbara.
The leaders of the military coup in the Sudan today ordered the arrest of all former ministers of the deposed government of President Numeri. He remains in exile in Egypt. One day after the bloodless palace takeover occurred, the capital of Khartoum was quiet, but martial law remains in effect.
Big, fast, nimble, durable, versatile. 5,000 new parts, German engineered. Introducing the new Volkswagen Golf, the new definition of hatchbacks. When you work on the new Golf as hard as we have, for as long as we have, everything just falls into place. Golf, it's not a car, it's a Volkswagen.
Bufferin, medical information. Did you know that Bufferin is medicine for more than just headaches? At work, it relieves nagging soreness, so you can get on with the job. At play, it relieves aching muscles, so you feel better. The medicine in Bufferin goes into your bloodstream fast and works where it hurts to relieve your pain. Bufferin, and extra strength Bufferin, medicine for more than just headaches, from Bristol-Myers.
In the Vatican today, Pope John Paul celebrated Easter with an appeal to finally end oppression, hunger, and war. The full story now from David Ensor.
It has been 40 years since the end of World War II, said the Pope, speaking from St. Peter's balcony, but its lessons still have not been learned. There still are torture and oppression, an arms race, and people dying of starvation, and wars which the Pope called a hurricane of violence. Among the 250,000 who had gathered in St. Peter's Square were thousands holding blue balloons. They had marched there with them as a demonstration against famine. The Pope, whose native Poland was invaded by Germany at the start of World War II, called that fight against Hitler a just war, and he paid tribute to the Jews who died in the Nazi Holocaust. But people had come from all over the world to celebrate a joyous occasion, Christ's return from the dead. And it has become a tradition for this multilingual Pope to deliver his Easter message in many languages, 47 today, including Hebrew and Arabic, Russian and English.
A blessed Easter in the joy of Jesus Christ.
David Ensor, ABC News, Rome.
As large as the crowds were in the Vatican, even more of the faithful gathered in Moria, South Africa. Some 3 million black Christians made an Easter pilgrimage to that city to celebrate the 75th anniversary of the founding of their faith, the Zion Christian Church. South Africa's white president, P.W. Botha, spoke, urging them to strive for unity and understanding among the feuding racial groups. Repeating his claim that outside radicals are causing the nation's racial unrest, Botha said the forces of darkness must be kept out of our country.
An interesting thing can happen when people switch from buying to leasing. They tend to get a little more car for the same monthly payment. And more people are choosing GMAC leasing because GMAC makes it so easy. GMAC even has a booklet that makes leasing easy to understand. Is leasing right for you? See the leasing expert at your GM dealership and find out. GMAC leasing, easy for everyone.
But days go by fast, your work never seems to end.
That's why Whirlpool cooking products are designed to make your world a little easier, with cooktops that clean up in short order, ovens that do the cleaning for you, and performance you can count on. Whirlpool, quality appliances.
We're making your world a little easier. Whirlpool makes it easier for you.
Bill Schrader will make history when he's released from the hospital. Some question whether the artificial heart offers a real chance for a good life. Monday, watch ABC's World News Tonight.
One of this country's longest-running melodramas begins a new chapter in Rhode Island tomorrow. Danish-born socialite Klaus von Bülow will go on trial a second time on charges of attempting to murder his wealthy wife. The story from Lynn Shear.
It's been just over 3 years since Klaus von Bülow was convicted of twice trying to murder his wife.
The jury finds the defendant, Klaus von Bülow, guilty.
Since then, Martha von Bülow has remained in what doctors call an irreversible coma at a hospital in New York. And her husband has succeeded in winning himself a new trial. Not because the state Supreme Court found fault with the verdict, but because they ruled the state had mishandled key evidence in the original trial. Specifically, they ruled that this little black bag found in von Bülow's closet had been seized without a search warrant, and that its contents, pills and drug paraphernalia, were analyzed without permission. The little black bag was crucial in the first trial because the prosecution used it to prove that von Bülow had injected his wife with near-fatal doses of insulin. And so the Danish-born lawyer, now 58, will stand trial again. His attorney this time is Harvard Law professor Alan Dershowitz. The prosecutor, newly elected Rhode Island Attorney General, Arlene Violet. And the trial itself has been moved to Providence in an effort to keep Newport's tiny courthouse free of the backlog that resulted when the case was first tried. The move from Newport, site of the stately von Bülow mansion, rankles those who looked forward to another influx of press and spectators to help boost the economy. But it will likely afford the defendant at least some escape from the notoriety of his first 8-week ordeal in court. Lynn Scher, ABC News.
In Philadelphia, police were forced to close off several blocks downtown when hundreds of teenagers who had just seen a kung fu martial arts movie began throwing rocks, smashing windows, looting stores, and giving kung fu kicks to nearby cars. The mayor called it a case of too many young people in one area at one time. 18 were arrested.
If you're taking more pills than you'd like for minor arthritis pain, here's a rub which might just replace pills. Aspercreme. Aspercreme relieves arthritis pain because it contains salicin, a strong non-aspirin pain reliever. Aspercreme concentrates relief right where you hurt. Penetrating, long-lasting relief without the side effects pills may cause. And there's no odor. Aspercreme, strong, effective relief without pills. Remarkable.
Let's go home. Hey, you gotta go.
Daddy!
Please, stop. Nothing is going to ruin this wedding. So if it takes all night, I personally will drive each of you home in my car. My Subaru.
Drive a Subaru with on-demand four-wheel drive, and don't let the weather spoil a good time.
This week, Klaus von Bülow is scheduled to be retried. We'll have the story here on Good Morning America.
In communist China, the old rules of social behavior that discourage public dancing, especially anything faster than a two-step, are yielding ground. The prospect of millions of new swingers dancing and buying albums even prompted the British rock group Wham to move in for a piece of the action. Todd Carroll reports.
Wham and their backers paid $800,000 to perform here, and they play to a carefully screened audience. The reason they're here? They want publicity, and China wants to introduce wholesome Western music. It's a tiny part of a groundswell. China's youth want a little nightlife, and some are getting it. These people paid $2 for a 6-night course to learn polkas, waltzes, and disco. Their instructor is self-taught, and after recording a series of programs for television, he may be China's #1 disco expert. The music may be foreign, but the impulse to move to a faster beat comes from a deep-seated yearning for expression. The first steps are tentative, but the urge to step out and strut is irrepressible. This woman teaches Marxism and Leninism. Some of her colleagues say rock dancing is sheer madness, maybe even erotic. She disagrees. The line between study and practice here is sometimes jagged. Chinese television has yet to air this teacher's disco lectures. And at this dance, founded by the Communist Youth League, mild regulations attempt to rein in excessive enthusiasm. The band, for instance, must be comprised of amateurs. But when the band stops, the beat goes on. For many young people, it's a chance to find their feet for the first time. And for some old ones, it's an opportunity to rekindle a passion. Disco may tax an old man's back, but dancing is fun. Todd Carroll, ABC News, Beijing.
And that's our report for tonight. Kathleen Sullivan and Charles Gibson will have tomorrow's first news on World News this morning, followed by Good Morning America. I'm Tom Gerald. For all here at ABC News, good night.
From Washington, this has been the Weekend Report. The Weekend Report is a presentation of ABC News.
When you're the first woman president, your toughest job's the first family.
Sex with love, the best there is. Until you hit 60, then you take it any way you can get it.
From the creators of Soap, Tuesday at 9:30, 8:30 Central, it's the premiere of Hail to the Chief, an equal opportunity offender.
Once people discovered Time Life Book's Home Repair and Improvement Series, life's filled with surprises.
Surprise! I finished the skylight.
You did it! It looks great!
That's because home repair and improvement is so easy to follow. People find that once they start, stopping becomes the hardest job of all. And now you too can start and finish all those jobs you've been avoiding just because you lack confidence. Because now you can get all the help you need just by calling for the Home Repair and Improvement Series.
Surprise! I finished our master bath.
Call now, and you'll start seeing results with your very first book, Kitchens and Bathrooms. This concise, expertly written volume will guide you through all sorts of projects, step by step, in both words and pictures. You'll gain confidence by learning everything you need to know about installing permanent ceramic tile, building your own custom-made countertop, how to measure, cut, and install any kind of kitchen surface, the tricks of repairing a leaky faucet, Plus, you'll also get handy tips on reorganizing a cabinet. Step-by-step diagrams showing you the right way to run pipes through walls and floors. Even how to clear the way for a major renovation.
Surprise! I fixed the sink.
Great.
Call now, and you'll start receiving these helpful books, one about every other month. Keep only those you want. Cancel anytime. You'll also get this 12-foot Stanley tape measure free when you buy your first book, the Home Repair and Improvement Series. Once you start, you may never want to stop.
Look at that!
Surprise!
It's our new family room.
To order, call toll-free, 1-800-445-8000. Examine kitchens and bathrooms free for 10 days. That's 1-800-445-8000. Or write Kitchens and Bathrooms, Time and Life Building, Chicago, Illinois. Remember, that toll-free number is 1-800-445-8000. That's 1-800-445-8000.
You're watching KDRV, Channel 12, Medford.